Welcome to the Seniors Rock Show, presented by the Law Office of Michael Robinson, PC, on News Radio, Wham 1180. The Seniors Rock Show, a lively weekly discussion shining a bright light on aging with fun, entertainment, and important info for all adults. Join in with your comments or questions. Call or text 222-1180 or 1-800-295-1180. Now from the News Radio Wham 1180 studio in downtown Rochester, here's your host, Joanna Palvino.
Well, hi, and welcome to this show, and happy Saturday. I am Joanna. I'm here to be with you for the next hour, along with my co-host, Michael Robinson. And, you know, we have both men and women who listen to the show. And today we're going to be focusing on the women, but don't go away if you're a guy, because you're also probably, you've been affected by what we're going to talk about, and that is menopause. 85% of women experience symptoms of varying type and severity during menopause. And it's like a 20-year, range. So a lot of us have had those symptoms, maybe hot flashes or trouble sleeping, and you might wonder why. Well, stay tuned, because our guest today is a menopause and women's health expert, Dr. James Woods. And Dr. Woods will explain there's a huge gap between what's known about the biology of and the management of menopause and what the public knows about the topic. So we're going to educate you along with us today. And Mike, you reminded our listeners last week when I mentioned that we were going to have this topic today. You said it isn't just for those that are experiencing the symptoms. It's not just for women, because anyone can benefit, from this education. So I've heard I've heard Dr. James Woods described as the coach of the women's team. And I'm going to think of you now, Mike, after your comments last week, as the assistant coach. So good to see your smiling face today. How you doing?
Good, Joanna. Happy Saturday to you. I don't know if I deserve the title, but I will accept it with grace.
Thank you.
So, yeah, quite a week, a gorgeous week. But I'll tell you, I'd like to see some rain.
I think we're going to in the next few days, but I don't think it's going to be a lot. So I think I am going to go out and water after the show.
No, I mowed my lawn after supper last night, and I think I looked like the Peanuts character Pigpen. I was riding around the lawn in a cloud of dirt the whole time.
Oh, no. The dust. Yikes.
So,
yeah. And the mosquitoes are out. So you get a little combo of that stuff, and you got to run back in the house.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We got to experience that too. We haven't seen the bats yet this year. I'm wondering when they're going to come and start taking care of some of those mosquitoes.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And spiders eat the bats. No, spiders eat the mosquitoes too, right? I actually know a lot about animals. My dad used to take me to the zoo almost every Sunday when I was little, and I know quite a bit. But I was laughing the other day. We were watching Family Feud, and one of the contestants, when they asked her what would be worse than a pigeon going, I don't know how to say this on the air, a pigeon pooping basically on your head while it's flying by. What would be worse, right? And of course, I'm thinking seagull, I'm thinking eagle. You know what her answer was? Penguin. I was like, wait a minute, they don't even fly.
That would be worse for a lot of reasons, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of a crazy off topic, but I was thinking about the zoo today because little Leo is in town, I hear, and they're going to head over to Seneca Park Zoo. And if I get out of here on time, I might go too.
Oh, fun. That'll be a good time. Good weather for it. The other thing that happened to me this week is I got to meet another listener.
Oh, cool. Tell me about it.
Yeah, her name is Mary Rose, and she tells me she listens every week. So hello, Mary Rose. I hope your Saturday is going well. And, it's always fun to meet people who listen to this show. Recently, I actually met some younger people who listen to the show, and that reminded me of another myth of estate planning. And that myth is that estate planning is for older people. And of course, the truth is estate planning is just as important, maybe even more important, for younger people. Because, Joanna, young people die too. And there are real consequences to the family of dying with no estate planning in place. In fact, right now we're helping on a case where a young woman died without any estate planning. She wasn't married, had no children, and her father is her only immediate family member. Well, the father came to see us because the daughter's bank accounts were frozen. He couldn't even get any information on the value of the accounts to know how concerned he should be. He wasn't able to access any funds to pay the daughter's mortgage and was receiving delinquency notices from the mortgage company. He had no legal authority to list the daughter's home for sale. Um, and because he was the only heir at law, and of course we had to go to court to resolve all of these issues, but because he was the only heir of law, we also had to find a disinterested person who knew the family well enough that they could swear under oath that dad in fact was the only heir at law. And all of those problems could have been avoided with some thoughtful estate planning. And of course, younger people tend to have young children. And that presents a litany of issues because when a parent dies without an estate plan, the first thing that's going to happen is a judge is going to appoint an attorney for that minor child to be sure that their interests in the estate are protected. That's going to be the case even if there's a surviving parent. Now, that can be a difficult experience for the child. Also tends to be expensive. In my experience, those fees typically are in the neighborhood of $2,000 or more. And of course, they're being paid from the deceased person's assets. Depending on the circumstances, if there's more than one minor child, the court may appoint a lawyer for each child. Once again, bank accounts are frozen and no one has access to that information or to information about retirement or other employer benefits. Even if you are survived by a spouse, the child is entitled to one half of the estate value above $50,000. So everything doesn't just go to the surviving spouse, and that can present some practical problems for the surviving spouse. But of course, if it's a minor child, the judge is going to appoint someone as guardian of that inheritance. So there's some more fees. And then, and this may be the worst of all, it all gets turned over to the child as soon as the child reaches age 18. And I think most of us will agree that's usually not going to be a good idea. And if there is no surviving parent, you have no way of knowing who will end up as guardian of your child. And this can be a significant source of discord in a family, as oftentimes several family members believe that they're the right choice. And whoever the judge ultimately appoints may or may not be who you would want to raise your child. And Joanna, these are not just hypothetical situations or rare occurrences. We're dealing with three other cases right now where everything I just described is happening. So again, estate planning, it's not just for older people. It is just as important, if not more important, for younger people.
That is amazing. And I'm sitting here thinking about what a mess. And people don't think about that. Like you said, you don't want to think about it. And actually, we did a show a while back. We'll do it again. But we talked about death. Like we're going to talk about menopause today. There's things that, they happen to everybody. And, this thing that we can't talk about it, it's not, fodder for any cocktail parties or anything. But hey, it's important stuff. And especially when there's children involved and it's a sudden thing. So, having someone like you to guide a person, especially a family that's going through this kind of trauma. I mean, I can't imagine it, being worse than having a child die. So the trauma alone has got to be unsettling. So, and then I can't imagine with all the things that are online, trying to get through all those things with the banks and the lawyers and all those things. So that's important. And I'm thinking, I wanted to make sure the listeners know that you're going to be having you're going to have a wills trust and nursing home asset protection workshop that's coming up, and I don't want folks to miss it. It's on May 26th at 2:00, and you'll be talking about some of those things I think in the webinar, right?
Correct. Yep. And the webinar is free. Just need to register ahead of time so we can provide the link. And it's great information, and we'd love to have people listen in.
Yeah, it's mrobinsonlaw.com, and it's very easy. It's free, like you said. You can sit in your living room with your loved ones or by yourself and check it out. And if you have questions, you can ask them, or you can just sit there and say nothing. No one, it's very anonymous if you want it to be. And I've learned a lot on those. I've had other folks tell me, like Mike said, our listeners have mentioned that they've done their webinars and they've been very helpful. So do it, or go to somebody else. I mean, just get some help, right, Mike?
Exactly, exactly. The key is to work with an experienced attorney who concentrates specifically in estate planning and elder law. And we're fortunate in the Rochester area to have several really fine attorneys who practice in those areas. So whether it's with us or with someone else, it's just important to get it done.
And I think if listeners are listening, each week they're going to realize that you probably are the best. I'm a little, biased, but yeah, he knows his stuff. I know that. And I know from people on the national level that have a lot of respect for you too, Mike. So you're very modest. And he knows his stuff. Like I said, I've been doing it. What? We just celebrated your 35th year.
35 years.
Yeah. So, and he's so young. You guys can't see him, but he's very young looking. Go to mrobinsonlaw.com. You can see a picture of him too. Hey, stay tuned because we're going to be up next with Dr. James Woods, and it's going to be very interesting stuff about menopause. Gather around and listen to this. Stay tuned.
Hi, Mike Robinson here. We've all seen a lot of changes this past year. One thing that hasn't changed in over 35 years at the law office of Michael Robinson is our commitment to protect you and your family from nursing home expense, probate, and taxes. Let us guide you and your family in creating a custom-crafted estate plan to protect your legacy. Call us at 374-5210 or visit us at mrobinsonlaw.
The Seniors Rock Show, and I'm Joanna, your host. And Mike Robinson is with us. He's our co-host. He's an attorney, and he'll be joining us in a few minutes too. But on the line now, we have Dr. Woods, and we're happy now to introduce him. He's an expert whose career in women's health is an interesting journey in itself, and he has a passion for teaching the biology and management of menopause. Now, that is kind of an interesting field, especially because Dr. James Woods is he's with the UR Medicine Menopause and Women's Health practice here in Rochester. And the reason that's interesting is because he is the only, or they are the only, GYN menopause practice in the entire region, which I found really interesting. And because menopause, as I said earlier, is a 20-year window and it's every woman's life. And there's so much to learn. So we said, we have to have him on the show. There's so many people we can help. So there's lots to cover. I'm going to start by asking Dr. Woods, who's on the line now, as I said, to start by telling us about his own background, a little bit about how he got here and the topics he's so passionate about. And we'll be talking about these things today. So I'll ask him to give us an overview and get started and tell him right now, welcome to the Seniors Rock Show, Dr. James Woods.
Well, thank you, Joanna. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you?
Okay. Well, listen. Well, you did a great job as an introduction. You could come see some of my patients. I'm sure you could do a very good job. And Mr. Robinson's comments about myths and misunderstandings about estate planning certainly applies to menopause. It's really amazing to me that for so many women who suffer through the 20 years often of menopause, that they're confronted by a range of comments from healthcare providers such as, you're just getting older, live with it. Good news is you can't get pregnant, but you're going to feel terrible. That's such a terrible opinion to be given because we know so much about menopause, but the responsibility is not on patients to try to understand it. It's the responsibility on us as care providers to teach the patients what they can learn, what they can, because then they can have a conversation with us that works. I mean, if you think about it, menopause begins literally somewhere after age 40. The ovaries begin to decline. Their production of the one most powerful estrogen, which is estradiol. And the 3 years leading up to where most women stop having menstrual periods at age 51 is now defined as a public health target because it's in that 3 years that menses become irregular. What's really happening is the estrogen from the ovaries is rapidly declining over that 8 or 9 year period. And as such, the body begins to release a number of inflammatory proteins that have been kept suppressed by estradiol. Why would that be? Because estradiol is a very powerful anti-inflammatory hormone. So understanding that begins to allow us to explain the fact that menopause, quite honestly, is a rather long period of inflammation. Now, the good news is almost all of the symptoms that most of your listeners experience are reversible. The most amazing part, though, is that every single woman will lose all the estradiol from her ovaries somewhere in her 40s. And so by age 51, there's basically no estradiol because no other part of the body actually makes it. And it's at that point that you would think every single woman would have the same response to menopause. Bottom line is every single person is unique. And so if you look at a list of symptoms, hot flashes, mood swings, sleep disorders, vaginal dryness, pain on intercourse, loss of libido, urine loss, weight gain, osteoporosis risk, heart disease risk, you would think everybody would look at that list and say, yep, that's me. But in fact, every single person sees a different list. But what is most remarkable about it is that all of the reactions to the loss of estradiol are unique only to that individual. And quite honestly, it focuses on a little tiny group of neurons in the brain that get activated at puberty and begin the cascade that ultimately stimulates the ovaries to make low doses of estradiol. Why do little girls start to grow taller, start to have some breast development? Well, that's because of the presence of the estradiol. But when the estradiol is around, it bathes those little groups of neurons in your brain, so that's allowing reproduction to continue. But right next to it is your heat control center. Consequently, when there's plenty of estradiol, the heat control center is fine, and the body has about a half a degree of thermal tolerance, where the body temperature is always, when you're young, going up and down, and you have no awareness of it. The other thing that happens, which probably is most significant, is that we now know that the intestine is a second brain. It has its own neural system. It has its own immune system. And most importantly, it has its own special bacterial colonies. And when the estradiol is around, it is bathing those bacteria, keeping them happy. And they're the ones that determine from the food we take in, is this good food? Can I send a signal back to my brain saying, I think we should expend energy, we ought to be active, we should not put on weight? Well, take away the estradiol, reproduction ends. The heat center changes, and you lose that half a degree of tolerance, and now there's no variance in your body temperature. So if you're at night with covers on, of course, the body senses that. Covers come off. Why? Because the heart begins to pump all that, quote, hot blood out to the surface in order to release that hot steam. Even sweat glands get wet. Well, that's the covers on, covers on, covers off, covers on all night long. But the worst thing and the most subtle is
Doctor is going to be right back with us. Stay there because we're going to talk more about menopause and the management of it, not just the symptoms. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
Genesee Valley Physical Therapy.
Hi, this is Dan Geen, physical therapist and owner of Genesee Valley Physical Therapy. And today I'm bringing you a very important public service announcement. The state of New York is a direct access state, which basically means you do not need a doctor to refer you for physical therapy. You can simply call Genesee Valley Physical Therapy, and one of our friendly, knowledgeable receptionists will talk to you and help determine if we can help you feel better with either traditional physical therapy or even wonderful aquatic physical therapy. So please don't suffer in pain, and please remember you don't need a referral to see us. We adhere to strict CDC guidelines and even offer telehealth visits if you prefer. Call us or visit GeneseeValleyPT.com today. There's a convenient location near you, including our newest location in Pittsford in the Bushnell Basin office building.
Do what you love, we'll help you get there. Genesee Valley Physical Therapy. Ain't nobody messing with you but you. Your friends are getting most concerned.
Welcome back to Seniors Rock Radio. I'm attorney Mike Robinson here with host Joanna Pelvino. And if you're just joining us, our guest this week is Dr. James Woods of the UR Medicine, Menopause, and Women's Health Practice. And Dr. Woods, before we went to break, you gave a fascinating description of the biology behind menopause. What about the management of menopause?
That's a great question. I spend probably an hour with a new patient, and I don't even do a physical exam. I feel it is so important to educate about this so that patients can have an equal opportunity to talk with me. So I stress weight reduction and diet is the foundation of all of the management. So it really gets down to lifestyle. People will come in with a misunderstanding that they're going to have to be thrown on hormones or something else. I say, stop, that's not true. That we're going to want to look at non-prescription meds, other choices. But my job is only to educate and then offer options of care. Patients have to be comfortable with the decisions. And because it is so unique, the biology of menopause, I spend a specific amount of time with each person only because they're the only ones that we're going to be focusing on. There are lots of ways to safely provide hormone replacement, but not everybody needs it. And so that's why the diet and exercise becomes such a fundamental part of the conversation.
Thank you. And why is it that diet and exercise is so often the answer to our issues?
Well, the problem is that people think of exercise as losing weight. You really can't. You're moving fat to muscle. But the diet allows one to control the carbohydrates in their diet, and it is the carbohydrates that fuel the appetite. But when I mentioned about the bowel, it is because our obesity begins at the bowel with this alteration in the bacteria in the bowel, and it's tough for people to have to change their lifestyle. But once you get into hormone replacement, I offer to patients several options, but I never push anything on anybody. The good news, however, is that every single symptom of menopause is reversible. And it is reversible because if you were experiencing high doses of estradiol as a young woman, even putting low doses of estradiol back into the system, amazingly enough, actually reverses and in most cases eliminates this. But the most common phenomenon that brings women into this practice, believe it or not, is not weight gain, not hot flashes, not mood swings, not memory loss. It is pain around the vagina, pain on intercourse, loss of libido. Those are the three that are the dominant causes for which people seek help. And the good news is it's reversible, but the reason it's reversible is because the vagina, the lower bladder, and the vulva are all clustered around a number of estradiol receptors. So that's where estradiol lands. And remember, I said estradiol is a powerful anti-inflammatory hormone. So it keeps that area soft, moist, and uninflamed. And that's why many people who come in terrified, or their partners come in saying, what happened? We've lost all of our relationships. Menopause really is a family affair. It is not just a woman's issue. It's the family, and the partner often comes in, he or she, trying to understand better what's really going on and what can happen. Menopause can be great. It can be a really happy time. And you're talking about a 20-year window, which is now a very well understood, very structured part of medicine.
I'm sitting here. This is Dr. Joe chiming in. Hi, doctor. I like how you said I could work with you, but I don't think I'm that qualified yet. But I think after reading your blog and listening to you today, I could jump in for a little bit of this. But thank you for explaining all these things. And, I'm wondering about, I know there was a women's health initiative back in 2002, and you and I had a little conversation about that. Can you tell the folks about that?
I'll try to make it brief because I'm afraid we're going to probably run out of time. The Women's Health Initiative has been grossly misunderstood because it was started with the hope that estradiol would actually reduce plaque formation in the heart or reduce bone loss. So they gave women a compound called Prempro, which is Premarin, which most of us remember our moms took as a combination of estrogens, and the synthetic progestin, medroxyprogesterone. They compared that against the placebo group that didn't take any kind of medicine, and when they broke the code during that 10-year period, they said there was 8 more women with breast cancer per 10,000 women's years. That's a hard concept to get around than the placebo. There was another arm of that practice where women only received Premarin because they had had a hysterectomy and didn't need the synthetic progestin. When they broke the code, there was a slight reduction in breast cancer compared to the placebo group. That study has been continued all the way till today. And 20 years later, the women who were only on Premarin without the synthetic progestin actually had a 25% reduction in breast cancer compared to the placebo. So that has forced scientists to go back and look at the original concept of Prempro. What was it about Prempro, or was it the synthetic progestin that was the cause linked to the Premarin that was given? I hear people all day long say things like, well, yeah, but I heard that estrogen is terrible because it causes blood clots. Well, you take oral estrogen, it does go into your liver, and it does change your clotting factors. But we don't use oral estrogen. We use either a patch or a cream, which never gets into the liver and never changes your clotting factors.
Dr. Woods, I hate to stop you now, but we need to tell the folks how they can find your blog, please, because we need to go now to break. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll have you back, and we'll open it up for questions next time. So,
well,
I would love
blog. My blog is www.obgyn.urmc.edu/menopause. It's got about 55 essays, one page, but there are only titles in there now, so you can skim through all 55 titles. But if you click on any one that covers every aspect of menopause, that one page will come right up on the screen. You can print it off. You can read it. And it works well. I give this to every single patient that I see.
Thank you, Doctor. You're a wonderful guy, and you are amazing at what you do. We will have you back. We have to go to break, though, so we will talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Hello there. Welcome back. I am Joanna Palvino, your host, and you're on the Seniors Rock show right now with me and my co-host, attorney Michael Robinson. Genesee Valley Physical Therapy offers many different specialties that will help you to improve your mood. And today we're going to be hearing from Doctor of Physical Therapy, Melanie Kehoe, and she's going to tell us about land-based and aquatic therapy. So let's jump right in.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me on the show today, Joanna. So, as you mentioned, my name is Melanie Kehoe, and I am a doctor of physical therapy, and I work with Genesee Valley Physical Therapy at the Perrington location, which is located at the Perrington Community Center. I'm excited to be on the show to talk today about physical therapy and more specifically aquatic therapy. At this location, we offer a variety of services, including general land-based physical therapy services, such as hands-on manual and massage work, developing an exercise program, as well as correcting any movement dysfunctions that you may be experiencing. We make your experience with us very individualized, and it is tailored directly to fit your needs and address whatever impairments you may be experiencing. Another interesting aspect of physical therapy that we offer at our facility is aquatic therapy. And today I'll be going more in depth about aquatic therapy because it is an extremely beneficial part of physical therapy and healing that a lot of our patients really enjoy, find relief with, and experience great physical gains with. Aquatic physical therapy is so beneficial to a wide variety of patient populations, and we typically see and treat patients with knee or hip arthritis, patients that are pre or post joint replacements, people with low back pain, as well as patients with balance impairments, people who are obese or overweight, as well as people that just have overall increased levels of pain. And we also treat a multitude of other pathologies and impairments. There are so many great benefits of participating in aquatic therapy, and being in the water is so great because it offloads sore joints, it increases mobility, improves flexibility and muscle relaxation, it can help decrease swelling and inflammation, and it can also decrease overall levels of pain. We can also improve strengthening and stretching in the water with the various equipment that we have in order to further enhance recovery. Aquatic therapy can help to make functional tasks easier, such as going up and down stairs, walking, standing, and going from a sitting to a standing position because of the strength and flexibility gains that you experience with therapy. So aquatic therapy can also help to bridge that gap with improving your ability to perform your daily activities at home or with your recreational sporting activities, or even out in the community, like if you were to go to a grocery store, a restaurant, or any other public establishment or place. And so many of our patients find great relief after aquatic therapy for even a few hours or a few days. And it's really such an amazing tool to be able to use as a physical therapist, and we just see such amazing results with it. Another great thing that Genesee Valley Physical Therapy can offer you at the Perrington location is that we will pay for your membership to the community center, which you can use in the aquatic center as well as in the weight room and the cardio room, so you can come and work out on your own. And this is just so great because as well as receiving physical therapy from us, you can also work out and attend the pool on your own, which helps to contribute to an overall healthier lifestyle. So if you would like to discuss any issues that you're having, or if you want to come in for an assessment, please feel free to call me Monday through Friday during regular business hours at 377-9626, or you can email me at mkehoe@mygvpt.com. And you can also find my complete biography and contact information on our website at geneseevalleypt.com under the About Us tab, and look for me, Melanie Kehoe. Thank you again for having me on the show today, Joanna. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for being on the show, Melanie. And don't forget, there's 7 locations for Genesee Valley Physical Therapy. So go to geneseevalleyphysicaltherapy.com and find one near you. Mike, we're here again at the end of the show.
I know, another hour's flown by. Quick reminder to everybody, in a couple of weeks, Fairport Canal Days is happening. That's June 5th and 6th from 10 till 5. They're going to have 100 artisans, 36 local merchants, and more than 15 food vendors, not to mention all of the normal shops that are in the village. So hope we all get a chance to take advantage of that. And Joanna, have a wonderful week. Everyone, be well, be kind.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you to the doctor for joining us today. He'll be back, Dr. James Woods. And thank you to the listeners for joining us. Come back next Saturday because we think seniors rock.